Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. Hope you have the sefer. Do we need more sfar? Do we need to order more sfarim? Raise your hand if you don't have a sefer. Okay, it seems like it. Okay, so we're gonna Bezrat Hashem. We're gonna order more. Not right now. I could try, and it would probably take a long time. If I could have everyone's attention, because I wanna do the sponsorships, and I wanna just give cover to whoever has sponsored. We're about to finish the month of Shvat, and the whole month of Shvat has been by Mishpachat Jerome, Leilui Nishmat David Aaron's grandmother, Sarah Bas Yechiel, the Pollack family in memory of Moshe's grandfathers and Joni's sister Shira, Mishpachat Eagle in honor of the birthdays of Mishpachat Eagle, month of Shvat, anonymous for the Kehila. Also, this morning specifically, the Shir is in memory of Yaakov ben Avram Tzvi. That is she here? Is Batya here? Batya is not here. Batya Rich's, I believe, father. And also, we're learning for the Refuah Shlema of Yaakov Simchon ben Masha Varda, who's going through a very intense surgery. And Leilui Nishmat, Mata Esther's Abba, Nachman ben Mordechai Vesara, whose yahrzeit is today. There was one more thing. That Chavi, right? Yeah, that's what it was. For Chavi's Refuah. Chava Miriam Bat Naomi. Chava Miriam, thank you. That's what it was. Yeah. For Refuah Nachama Bat Ita. Okay, we should hear good news on all fronts, B'ezrat Hashem. And everyone should have a Refuah Shlema. And as Adar couldn't come any faster, it should be a v'na'afochu, and whatever needs to be a v'na'afochu, B'ezrat Hashem. All right, so please open up on the second parak, Daf Chaf Vav, that you have in front of you. Now, today we're going to see two different Mekorot today, two different sources. Hopefully, we'll get to them. One from the Kuzari, and one from Rav Kook. Now, I want to bring down a phrase that's brought down in Masechet Brachot, and that phrase goes as follows: Olamcha tireh b'chayecha. That means you're going to see your Olam Haba, more or less, already in this world. Olamcha tireh b'chayecha. That means that while you're going through this world, we're gonna hopefully define exactly what this means, but it simply means it could be all good. It could really be all good. We like to talk about how we have to get through the not goods, but there are realities that have happened to Am Yisrael in the past, and hopefully B'ezrat Hashem in the near future, that you'll see your olamcha, your world, what's waiting for you, already now, bechayecha, in your current, how did Rav Shlomo call it, deployment? That's the word your current deployment, while it's happening down here. Now, remember, this parak is basically, this parak and the next parak is to explain to us clearly, so that it really gets inside of us, when to understand the words, what we say, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. This parak is to really bring into us the awareness of what it was like to live with a Geula consciousness, but for that to be something that wasn't just something that I had to think about all the time, but it's like literally what I saw. It's how I lived. It's what my children saw. It's what my children experienced. And he does such a wonderful job, Rav Sasson. He does an incredible job in this parak, making it very clear to us what was going on here, specifically in Yerushalayim, what it was like. Like we said last week, we're going to go into the household of a family that was living during the time where the Shechina was galui, when there was no Hastara, when it was just galui. We have so much Akarat Atov when there's like a glimpse of the Shechina not being hidden, right? We have like a tiny bit of revelation, like, oh my God, Hashem, thank you so much. What about when it was like full on? So what did that look like? And remember the phrase, Olamcha tireh b'chayecha. So now he's going to explain to us ha'evdel ben Galut la'geula. Let's understand the difference between Galut and Geula, between exile and redemption. בזמן שבית המקדש היה קיים, הייתה הנשמה מאירה בגוף שלם וחי. In the time of the Beis Hamikdash, the soul was illuminating within our full and complete body in the most alive way. We felt alive, fully alive. Am Yisrael yashav al admato, we were dwelling on our land. Umi ka'amcha Yisrael goy echad ba'aretz. Benishmat Yisrael he'ira bo bechol oz, and the soul of Am Yisrael was illuminating with all its might and strength. What does this mean? והיינו שהשכינה הייתה שורה בישראל ומפחה בכל הלבבות. The Shechina was dwelling in Am Yisrael, and it was basically like how do you say mefachah, Esther? You know, what's the right word? Huh? More or less residing, flowing. It was on in everyone's heart. The Shechina basically was the thing that was pressing the buttons on our heart, turning on the on button, and it wasn't an off button, it was on. Okay? Mimeila hanevuah zarcha ba'ora. When that happens, prophecy is just like floating everywhere, you know? Mamash, all over the place. There's prophecy floating everywhere. Online streaming, yeah. V'ayu Yisrael dvukim b'madregot nisaot, and we were attached to such high levels, such exalted levels. Lehargish et havayat chayehem ha'achat. What does that mean? We reached high levels? That we felt the experience of being alive. And we're going to keep on coming back to this. The Shechina out there means I felt alive. Kegoy shalem, as a complete people, shemahut chayav hi b'chinat ra'ayato shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that the essence of our lives was being Hashem Yisbarach's ra'aya, partner. Achat hi yonati tamati. Zeu teora shel Knesset Yisrael b'shir hashirim, שנכתב בהיות השכינה בשלמותה בבניין שלמה המלך. Now this is very beautiful. When was Shir HaShirim written? So we once learned from Rav Kluger explained that when Shlomo HaMelech got up to give his inaugural speech of like the dedication of the Beis HaMikdash, so it was just basically a complete flow of stream of Ruach HaKodesh, and Shir HaShirim just came out of his mouth when he got up to speak at the opening of the Beis HaMikdash. So when you look at like what Shir HaShirim is describing, Shir HaShirim is describing the state of Am Yisrael in a Geulah state of mind and heart. And therefore all the phraseology of Shir HaShirim is so not concealed, it's so revealed, everything's so open, the love is just so, you know, that's why like it's even hard sometimes to even read it, but like, and Chazal didn't know what to do with it because it was so revealed, there was nothing hidden. The expression of love and being aware of the schut of the relationship was so present. That was Shir HaShirim, written when the Shlomo HaMelech finished building the Beis HaMikdash, and we went into the Beis HaMikdash, okay? Be'osher chayei HaKodesh shel HaMikdash v'HaNevuah, in such a rich state of holy life, with the temple and prophecy, hirgish kol yachid miYisrael et mashma'ut chayav begadlut atzuma. Each person, there weren't any people going for, you know, there weren't therapists, basically. People weren't going for do you understand what I'm saying? People weren't going for weekends of checking in to see how they could discover the inner them, the real them. Everyone was in tune with the real inner them. It was floating, it was everywhere. כחלק מתוך אבוקת קודש המאירה תבל ומלואה. And each person saw their own life as part of a pillar of holy fire that was shining the whole universe. It wasn't just like, oh, we have it so good, the rest of the world is suffering. That's not a Jewish concept either. You know, the Jewish concept of redemption is that everyone wins. You know, everyone wins. To the extent how much they feel it is a little bit different maybe by other nations, but is that the sense of Am Yisrael felt while the Beis HaMikdash was around was such a strong sense of being alive, but also being part of, like, basically, I'm part of this torch, of this pillar of fire, of this torch that the whole universe is receiving its sustenance and its life from. Amazing thing. HaShabbat, we're in the third line, second paragraph, Hashabbat, Hatfilin, Hatzitzit, Talmud Torah, Esek HaMitzvot, Kmo Gam HaMelacha Ubinyan HaAretz, all these things, whether it's like, practical mitzvot, like Shabbos and Tefillin and tzitzis and for men and Talmud Torah, just doing mitzvahs, together with the melacha of building the land, Hayu yachdav lenimim vegidim be'ilan rav sarigim urechav yadayim shenichlelu bo kol Yisrael kavaya achat. As much as we like to talk about, we're all part of one mishpacha and everything, everyone felt that they were all working on the same tree. They're all from the same tree. Maybe some people are in the roots, people are the branches, some people are the leaves, but everyone knew that what they were doing was all connected to one body. Can you imagine that? That everyone felt that they were working on the same body of Kedusha, called the body of Am Yisrael. Everyone felt that. Everyone felt that. Imam, Heiru bechol oz kol matmonei haTorah starea verazea beyichudei kodesh. I'm just going to finish till the end of the year. Bechokhmat hanevuah vehora'ata. והיו ישראל לומדים את סוד נשמתם עד להשגת נבואה כפליים כיוצא מצרים. Together with everything we described, it was the secrets of the Torah that were shining bright before anyone that opened the Sefer, before anyone that went to go hear Dvar Hashem from someone. Shining bright. Now what happens when I learn the secrets of the Torah? So he says, I learned the secret of my neshama. We always say 613 letters in the Torah, connected to 600,000 root souls that are in Am Yisrael. Can you imagine going to hear Dvar Hashem and not having to work really hard on understanding how this relates to you? But it just clearly relates to you? Is this clearly your story? There's no sheilot. It's just clearly this is the secret of my soul is being revealed to me. That's what it was like back then. Until everyone reached the level of nevuah, and he says here, kiflaim kiyotze mitzrayim. That's the Gemara in Megillah says that. I looked into this yesterday. The Gemara in Megillah says over there that, we were pretty big prophets as we were leaving Mitzrayim, but that's nothing compared to the state that we were in during this time of Beit Rishon. Not even close. Nothing close to it.
Not even at the foot of Mount Sinai?
He says, Kiflaim ki Yotzei Mitzrayim. Yotzei Mitzrayim are the ones that are at the foot of Sinai. Because they couldn't contain the revelation there. Here, that revelation seems to be something that was contained and manifest, and I knew how to work with it. Yeah.
So, just for example, I was learning with the Kuzari's father, I forget his name, on Shabbos. And that's so, obviously with my husband, not by myself. That's so high level. And I'm like, what? Talking about all the worlds and all the worlds sitting on neshama, and so it's something like that. That's understanding neshama. That is learning that, knowing that. That is what they felt. That is what they knew, and the fact that we're trying to learn those secrets is part and parcel of this.
I'm not going there yet. I'm not even. He's not explaining anything about right now. But today we're just going backwards, or forwards. It depends how. We'll see. But I don't want to yet compare it to our experience right now, because we'll just get depressed.
No, I just see more of a utility in the things that I'm actually doing. I don't think it's
all the power to you. All the power to you. But we haven't even gotten to the beginning of how he describes what was going on. This is just the beginning. It's just the beginning. So hold on with it. What was this reality like? Look how he continues. במציאות אדירה זו של גילוי שכינה, and this powerful reality of living in a state where the Shechina was revealed, לא היה צורך לדבר על תכלית המצוות ושכר קיומן. I love this. There was no need to speak about the purpose of doing mitzvahs and the reward you get for keeping them. Why? You have to explain to parents of a newborn what a gift it is to have a baby. There's sometimes when it's so revealed, what are you talking? Don't even tell me about the reward of these things. It comes in the way even. It's like it gets in the way. Don't even talk to me about this stuff. I'm living it. What could you tell me that's going to take me? What are you going to tell me? נכון? כי היו ישראל רואים עולמם בחייהם. That's the phrase we said before. Am Yisrael saw their life, their world, in their life. Okay, this is the state we were in. Ro'im olamam b'chayehem. They saw their world, the world to come, or whatever you want to put into that definition, b'chayehem, in their life, in the moment. B'ziv hakodesh asher b'beit Hashem, with the ray of holiness which is in the house of Hashem, shehit pashet lechol merchavei haaretz, and it spread over the whole land. Verum govho hitgala ba'aliyat ha'am kulo laregel, and the height, like the highest moment when this was felt and where it peaked, was 3 times a year when all of the Am came. You know, just to explain to you the reality of what it was like. You know, there's a place called Motza, right? So where's Motza? It's like, right, so if you're coming up to Yerushalayim, so Motza is going to be on your right side. Motza is a place from back in the day. Now Motza, the Gemara says, was a place where any of the Olei Regalim would lose anything on the way. Motza, found, right? It was lost and found headquarters, right? But I, you better go there. But I learned even a deeper thing is that that there were people that experienced such a high that they felt that they lost it by the time they were leaving Yerushalayim, and there were chachamim and holy people sitting there, showing them how it's still found in you, Motza. You know, this is what it was like. This is what it was like. Kmo she'en tzorich, in the 4th line in the 2nd paragraph. כמו שאין צורך להסביר את הערך התזונתי בפירות מתוקים כדי לשכנע לאכול מהם, there's no need to explain the nutritious value of sweet fruit in order to convince someone to eat from them, because when you taste it, you want it. הפירות המתוקים של עבודת הקודש, the sweet fruit of holy service of God, היו זוהרים ומאירים בתכליתם, בתוך חיי העולם הזה. It wasn't something that a person's like, I'm going to sweat blood and tears, right? Because what's waiting for me one day. It was like, what are you kidding me? What could you give me now, right, that could be comparable to this experience that I'm experiencing right now? What could you give me? What would you compare it to? Nothing. It was so apparent and so inherent in the way that I experienced life. I didn't need seminars. I didn't need these things. It was just so galui. It was so revealed.
I don't mind if I turn the heat on.
It's going to blow off. The one over there,
That one's fine.
you move that way.
That one's okay. Here, it just goes right. It's a little bit difficult. Okay. But go for it. Go for it over there. No, it's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. I'm sorry? I don't know. Good question. I don't know. What's that?
When did they lose it?
No, not that they lost.
When did we?
עוד לא, רגע, everyone's, let's stay in the, come on. 20 minutes on a Sunday, I just want to stay in the light.
Part of Galut, so that's
God, I just wanted, we didn't lose it. Look what you're holding. We didn't lose it. I just want to stay in the light. We're staying in the light this morning. As far as I know, we're staying in the light this morning. Next week, ask me how we lost it, okay? Lefichach. Look at this. Look what he says here. This explains something very deep about Nach, about learning Nevi'im. It says, therefore, lefichach lo timtza besifrei hanevuah dibur ve'esek b'chayei olam haba. That's why go through Nevi'im. They don't talk about the next world. Why? וההתייחסות לעולם הזה כאמצעי לתכלית. They don't speak about this world as a means to the purpose. Because all of that was happening, again, speaking about it was even cheapening from it. It sounded completely ridiculous to even speak about. So what's the purpose of life? What's the purpose of זה לא היה חלק מהשיחה. It wasn't part of the דיבור. כי כאשר זיו העולם הבא מאיר בעולם הזה, when the ray of light of the next world shines in this world, בהשראת שכינה עליונה בבית השם, with the hovering of the Shechina in the house of Hashem, ובמראות נבואה, and also through prophecy, לכמות עצומה של נביאים, כפליים כיוצא מצרים, to an incredibly large amount of prophets and prophetesses, double the amount of the ones that stood at Har Sinai, לא היו צריכים כלל לדבר על שכר המצוות ומשמעות בקיומן. There was no need to speak about the reward of mitzvahs and the meaning of keeping them. התכלית והשכר היו מאירים בגילוי רב ובבהירות. The purpose and the reward were shining in a tremendously revealed and clear manner. So now he's going to bring us to the Kuzari to even explain this clearer to us. על מציאות נפלאה זו נאמר עולמך תראה בחייך, וכך מתאר רבי יהודה הלוי את חיי החסיד, עובד השם, בזמן שהיה בית המקדש קיים. Look at the Kuzari. Look how the Rabbi Yehuda Halevi explained. This is unbelievable. הנה תיארתי לך מעשה החסיד בדורנו זה. So I explained to you the actions of a chassid in our generation. ומזה תדון על מעשה החסיד בזמן המאושר ההוא בימי הבית. Now let me tell you what it was like to be back then. ובמקום האלוקי ההוא, in that godly space, ובקרב האנשים ההם, and amongst those types of people, כולם בני אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, אנשי סגולה, שהצניעות טבע להם, so deep, that living in a tzniusdik manner was everyone's nature. It was organic. It was just the way they were. צניעות טבע להם. אנשים ונשים שאין עוולה בלשונם. Men and women, that there's no avla. How do you say avla? Like what's that? Avla is like their speech was so pure and refined. בקרב קהל כזה החסיד מזדכך. In the presence of such a group of people, the chassid, meaning the typical yid, מזדכך, would become more and more refined. ונפשו לא תזדהם בדברי נבלה שישמע בפיזולתו. His soul doesn't get contaminated by hearing disgusting words from someone else. Why not? Why doesn't his soul get contaminated by hearing disgusting words from someone else? Because he doesn't hear them. B'diuk.
Who's saying that?
No one. He's saying there was no reality. It didn't exist. That's the point. בבגדיו ובגופו לא תדבק. תומת מתים וצרת והדומה להם. All these things that in previous generations, like tzarat, which was a result of lashon hara, with things that would get stuck to your clothes, sometimes your body, the walls of the house. זה לא היה זה. Why? שהרי קהל זה קיבל עליו חיי קדושה וטהרה. These people took upon themselves a life of holiness and purity as a klal, as a whole people. I know what I know what some of you are thinking. Like he's just generalizing. It was never that beautiful, and that's something that it's just not true. It really was. It really was because Hashem Shechina was. We can't imagine it to be like that, but it really, really was. It really was that beautiful. Shir Hashem couldn't have been said, couldn't have been revealed unless it really was that beautiful. Now, again, you're going to ask me, so when did we lose it? How did we get the Haku? ועל אחת כמה וכמה מי שדר בעיר השכינה, and all the more so anyone that resided in the city where the holiness dwelled, which was Yerushalayim, ונמצא תמיד בחברת סיעות בני אדם שהדרגותן היא לפי מידות הקדושה, and you keep on finding yourself amongst groups of people that are basically, it all goes in accordance to their levels of kedusha. What does that mean? Kohanim, Leviim, נזירים וחברים, נביאים וחכמים, שופטים ושוטרים. ואף מאנשי העם לא יפגוש, כי אם המון חוגג בכל רינה ותודה בשלוש רגלים בשנה. And when he does meet the rest of the people, he meets them on Sukkot, Pesach, and Shavuos, Lo yishma ki im shir Hashem. All he hears when he meets the people is the song of God. V'lo yira'eh ki im melechet Hashem. And when he looks at people, he just sees people that are busy with the melacha, with the service of Hashem. This is who you meet. Tell you, it's how I feel when I walk in here. Ba'alachat kama v'chama. Im hu atzmo kohen o levi ha'ochel lechem Hashem. Imagine you're a kohen, you're a Levi, and you're eating the bread of God. Ve'omed beveit Hashem minu'urav kishmuel. And like from the time, and basically this is your your home. This is what you know. You know, this is all you know. How long was the first Beis Hamikdash around for? Right? So a person that's basically, I don't know what lifespan was back then, but it wasn't the 300 and 400 years. Imagine that's all you knew. How long are we in Eretz Yisrael with the current state? 75 years. Shalach Shov. You know, this was 400 years of this, of more or less this kind of reality. Ve'eno tzarich levakesh lo michya. You don't have to ask to sustenance because it's all just there. V'hu kashur ba'avodat Hashem kol yemei chayav. Ma tomar lema'aseu ve'lezoch nafsho u'lema'alat nishmato. What are you going to tell a person like this that they need to focus on, that they need to do, that they should pay attention to? Their existence is exactly that. So now go down to the footnote, and Rav Kook is going to explain this as well. Kach meta'er Rav Kook zatzal be'orot atchiyah. Okay? So Rav Kook describes this. Kshanu mekimim ata mitzvat truma u'maaser, גם בשעה שאין לנו כל היסודות הממשיים שמצוות אלו בנויות עליהם. So Rav Kook is saying like this, now we're back in Eretz Yisrael. We're starting to keep the mitzvot atluyot ba'aretz. But you all know that there's plenty of mitzvot atluyot ba'aretz that we can't keep fully until the Beis Hamikdash stands and the Kohanim and the Leviim are in their place. So he's saying, look, we don't have everything we need in order to do these mitzvot properly. Lo kohen ba'avodato velo levi beduchano. I don't have the Kohen doing his Avoda. I don't have the Levi singing his nigun. I may not have that, but Rav Kook says like this, Hine hachizayon mityatzev lefanenu. The vision is finding itself in front of our eyes. Just the vision of it.
Like the lifanecha of the Torah portion, like there was I read just that that actually it's in Israel that all the mitzvot can only be fulfilled. That that's where it's lifanecha, and then the first.
Yafeh, yeah, only here.
Only here.
והננו מתמלאים רוח שירה רוממה בתעופת נשרים. Rav Kook, leave it to him. And we are filled with a song with a high and elated song, like the eagle's aviation. לעומת האורה של הימים המאושרים המחכים לעומתנו על אדמתנו הברוכה. And this light is waiting for us and our people in our days on this land. הנה המקדש על מכונו לגאון ולכבוד לכל הגויים והממלכות. The temple stands with all its glory for all nations of the world and all kingdoms. והנה אנו נושאים ברינה אלומות ארץ חמדתנו, באים ברוח מלא חופש אמיתי ובטחה טהורה. We come with so much, such a sense of real freedom, but also pure bitachon, that we're coming to the goren vehayekev, hameleim bar veyayin. We're coming to the vineyard that's filled with the wine. Velibenu sameach al tuv eretz chemda. Our heart is so happy and rejoiced about all the good of this land. And he's going back to the vision. והנה לפנינו מופיעים כהנים, אנשי קודש, משרתי מקדש השם, אלוקי ישראל. A Kohen pops up. And what does he look like? ליבם מלא אהבה וחסד. You see the Kohen, you're like, their heart is filled with love and kindness. Like you're shaliach, right? What's the Kohen? He's your shaliach, right? He takes your korban. He's your shaliach for your avodah. And you had a sense of, this person is the dream. He's everything I ever dreamed to be my representative. This, like, imagine if we felt like that about our leaders. This is exactly what we could have ever hoped for. Like, that's what a person felt when they came with their bikurim or whatever. They'd come to the kohen. My God, this is like the most ideal personality I'd ever want to represent my name before God.
That's how we feel.
I wish.
But we,
I
I'm just saying, here you are, Korean.
Oh.
We feel like that,
You know how much I pay her before she ran? Tell them how much I pay you. Reveal it.
More shirim.
Libam maleh ava v'chesed, ruach hakodesh shafuch al pneihem. The ruach hakodesh is poured all over their face. Zochrim anu et kol rmemut rikshe hakodesh asher milenu be'et ra'inu et pneihem ba'alotenu laregel. And then we remember, like, just the reality of when it was happening. So I remember when I came up to do Aliyah Laregel, that's who was waiting for me. And that gave me the batteries. That gave me everything I needed to stay in that state that the Kuzari was explaining before. Birotenu otam be'omdam l'sharet betoch migdashenu ge'onu zeinu machmad einenu, as they're about to serve. Kama nehedarim v'ne'imim hem lanu. Ah, how wondrous and pleasant this is for us. So basically, Rav Kook continues here, very similar to the way that the Kuzari explained it, but just in a, to drive this point home, like, this actually really happened. These are not exaggerated reports of the scene. This is like literally what it was like. Now, this is very important for us to understand what we I would say what we tend to compromise on when we say the word geula. I mean, it's a good way. It's good to kind of go into, like, when we say the word geula, it's like we've already, because Galut is so ingrained in us, so we can read this stuff and be like, whatever. That was amazing. That was then, but now we have to learn with, like, the picture of geula is different. It's with all these, mothers sitting shiva over their sons. Like, mixed in the picture. It's like, before you jump to the compromise, first be clear. First be clear what it is you're saying isn't happening, is and isn't. And that's why he's saying, like, it's very important for us to get to understand the difference between Galut and Geula. Like, now, the only question I always have when I read these kind of things is, so how come Mashiach didn't come? That's my mind always goes there naturally. I think about that all the time. And we're gonna answer that question together throughout learning the Sefer, actually. Like, that's a very beautiful, it's a heartbreaking question, but it's a very important question as well. Okay, so that was basically the Rav Kook and the Kuzari explaining to us, like, what was going on. So look at the next page. I know we're doing a lot of chomer today, but we can handle it. Kach haya lanu. This is what we had. Biyotenu be'osher chayenu. We were living it up. Osher chayenu, the good old days, the rich days of my life, right? Osher chayenu, when I was mamish living it. Begadlut hamuchin, with an expansive mindset. Ube'ashpat hakodesh she'ira banu, and with this abundance of holiness that was literally shining in us. V'hine bagalut. Olam choshech ba'adenu. There's the dark world. Nistalka Shechina, the Shechina's gone. Nigneza neshama. The soul goes into a hiding place. You understand? Shechina goes away. What has to find cover? The soul. The soul nignaz. Ve'aguf notar levado. And the body is all alone. Shochen ba'afar. Shever achar shever. Nifrad aguf liresisim. Venotarnu avak dak. The body is left alone. Shochen ba'afar, it's dwelling in the dust. Break after break, the body separates itself piece by piece, and all we're left is just avak dak, right? Like just dust. Pzurim ba'aretzot tevel, were spread throughout the whole universe, lelo Shechina, lelo Galut Hashem, without the revelation of Hashem, lelo tiferet v'kavod melucha, without that glory, without that royal glory that made us who we were, lelo migdash ulelo nevuah. I didn't think we'd get here this fast, but we're already here this morning. Without the Beis HaMikdash, without prophecy. That's a pretty harsh descent, no? Am Yisrael nafal nefila gedola me'od. Understand what Galut meant. Am Yisrael, we were mamished living it. Now don't get into the questions of how yet, okay? But this is what happened. We were here, and not only was it like down, it was basically hefker to the world, right? We became hefker to the whole world. Am Yisrael nafal nefila gdola me'od. Zohi kol hagalut aruka sheze ata shavnu mimena. So he says, this long period of galut where we were like this is what we've just come back from. Meaning, as we're coming back home to Eretz Yisrael, this is basically what we're hopefully have left or are leaving. This state of what he just said right now. I didn't get too much into detail because I was feeling really happy and optimistic. This I still am, but you know what I mean. Like he basically gave a clear description of death. Okay, the galut is death. Pashut me'od. It's just death, right? What does it mean that the soul is disconnected from the body? That's a state of physical death. That's what he described. The place we went to after this place where we were fully alive, Galut is dead. B'sha'ah sheyatzanu lagalut, ibadnu hon atak shel kedusha. When we went out to Galut, we lost a tremendous fortune of holiness. Otzrot shefa umadregot ruchaniyot ramut me'od. We had such an arsenal of spiritual levels. Kema'amar Yirmiyah, like Yirmiyahu Hanavi says, Vatered Plaim. Wonders came down. Yeridatenu bagalut hayta yerida nora'it. Ve'rov hamon birkat Hashem b'shefa ruchani u'be'orot HaKodesh nignezu v'ne'elmu me'en kol. All that I felt, the bracha from Hashem, the spiritual nourishment, and with lights of holiness that was basically the way I lived for so many years, are concealed from everyone. Husteru bechevyon uzo yidbarach. They were hidden by the strength of the Almighty in Hashem's hiding place. V'lo notar la'am Yisrael kimat me'uma mima shaya bizman Beit HaMikdash ubetiferet idgalut Hashem asher bo. We were left with basically barely anything from what made us tick when the Beis HaMikdash was around. We were left with basically nothing. אין לדמות כלל את העם היושב בציון בזמן שלמה בתפארתו, בהיות כמעט שני מלכים בכתר אחד, לעם הרצוץ, מרוסק האיברים ומדולדל הנפש, באין מים ומחיה, אין אור ואין שפע, לבני עמנו מתהלכים בצידי הדרכים באדמות ניכר. He's saying, you cannot compare at all anything the state of the people that dwelled like B'nai Melachim and B'nai Nevi'im to the state of people that even if they try to hold on to some good things, he says over here, are basically like walking pieces of flesh. That's what we're like in Galut for all these years. Tachat netel arlei lev ubasar besiluk Shechina. You can't compare people that lived with the Shechina revealing it herself and the Shechina concealing herself. It's two different types of people. So here's, by the way, the sela of the machloket here is the Shechina back, right? Is the Shechina back in its full force now? So we would love to say yes, right? But it's not.
Say yes.
Huh? No, we would love to say that it is, meaning as a tefillah, like it should be.
Right.
We would love for it to be, nachon.
There are times, though, when you can access just the Shechina, no? Like on Shabbos, in your home, they say, or many times.
Right, but even that, even then, the extent that you access it, right, is minute compared to. But what we're saying is like this. I think what he's saying over here is like this. But every time you say what you just said, Jenny, compare that to people that never had to like
You don't have to access it.
access, right? And then you realize, oh right, Galut and Geulah. Then you realize again, like, what I'm dealing with. See, that's the point of this parak, is to drive home, like, the comparison between exactly what we just said right now about, like, working so hard to feel something and be reminded of a purpose and reward, to a state where you never have to be reminded that, because you are living it. Not because you know it,
Right.
because you live it, right?
I get that, but are we able to do that? Like, is that what this, like, or is it just like, okay, that's a great history book?
Chas v'sholom. Chas v'sholom. We're just trying to understand what it is that what it means that we're people that believe that we're living in the time of Geulah, or that we're heading towards Geulah. It'd be horrible if the answer to what you said was, no, absolutely no, we're just reading about what was, and now deal with,
Well, we can access it at times, we know what it really looked like, but this is where we're at, and this is what we can do. We can have the knowledge of the ultimate, but
still gotta go, it's gotta go more in the heart. You're still talking about knowledge of what was, and we're trying to get that into the heart of saying, feeling that's, what does that mean?
at moments you can access that feeling. I believe in that, but
Oh, no, I know, but Jenny, we're just trying to go for much more than moments of accessing that feeling.
oh, so that's possible. That's my question.
That's a good.
Yeah.
Let me add to that question.
I just want to finish it's one more line in the paragraph. Ube'emet al ki en Elokai bekirbi mitzauni arabot ha'ele. This is the pasuk from the Tochecha, from the rebuke that we get from the klelos that we get in Parashat Ki Tavo, when you're wondering, like, wow, how did this happen? How did I, when you read those psukim there, it's like awful, the curse of this. So they're saying, the pasuk says, oh, how did these ra'ot, how did this bad state of mind and being find me? Well, it's simple. Al ki en Elokai bekirbi, because I don't have this concept of godliness in my midst, so therefore there's vacancy now for all these ra'ot to find me. So when we basically were in the state of Yerushalayim, based on English, the Shlomo HaMelech, ra'ot couldn't find me. You know why? Because Elokai bekirbi, like that sense of Hashem is in me, in my midst, wasn't something I had to work on to realize that's who I am.
What's for
Bad, ra.
Oh.
Ra'ot.
We were filled out, right? We were filled out, so we didn't even have room.
There was no empty space for anything else to go inside.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
When you have that great feeling, and let's say you have it at the kotel, just for an example. Like, wow, and you feel like physically expanded with Hashem in you. I personally would love to hold on to that forever, but I know I can't. So are you going to do like therapy with us to teach us how to hold it in for longer and longer, and then actually maybe...
I'm learning with you a sefer. I'm not doing
But you
anything.
know what I'm saying. In other words, we've all had it, I'm sure. That Pesach of when you were doing the schmoozing on Thursday nights on the Zoom. and
Pesach?
The first Pesach of Corona, pre-Pesach.
Uh-huh.
And people were walking away from that, not able to breathe, because none of me and my friends could breathe after you spoke. And then we all thought Mashiach was coming, because you said Mashiach was coming, and I personally couldn't breathe. And we're sitting we had like the best Seder in the world, my husband and I alone, with a million svarim on the table, and Mashiach didn't come.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost it. Not lost it,
Right.
but I became smaller again.
Right.
So,
But you have to
If we-
Shimo. You have to remember.
yes, the
Remember.
question though, can we learn to be larger? Because this is going to happen. I hope it happens right this second.
Right.
Whether I'm ready or not. In other words, Hashem shouldn't wait for me to be ready, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? But is there a way for all of us as a unit, because we are a unit, we're a
Mhm.
Kehillah, when we expand ourselves to bring this in more, to be ready more?
I think that you already have. I think you have. If you've been in a relationship with Hashem since the time that you're speaking of, and you still feel closeness, right? And you're smiling, and you're keeping, you're doing the best you can, it has to be that there's been an expansion. But when you compare that size of expansion to the day in a life of little Shmuel walking around the Beis HaMikdash, it's sorry, Bemet, I feel bad for you and for me. It's a joke, right? It's a bad joke, yeah.
I get it. It's like basically this is just teaching you how to really long.
He-
You have those moments that are.
Yeah, but I just said, listen, we're jumping. This has not taught us anything yet, other than giving us a really powerful description. Nothing happened yet.
Showing you what the picture looked like that you should be longing for.
He didn't even say that. He didn't. He has.
You're not saying patience.
You see, you see what Galut is. No, you see what Galut is. This is Galut. This is Galut. You know what Galut is? Galut is I need now for this to make sense in my mind, as opposed to where do I feel in my body? The description of what he just said right now. Even what I said right now sounds like Chinese to many of you, right? Meaning, Galut is, it doesn't, wait a second, what's the purpose of why I just read these lines? Wait a second. Shniya achat. That's the Galut mentality. The Geula mentality was never, how does this make sense? Is, where am I feeling it? I learned this when Tiferet was born. We had a visit from our dear friends Miriam Futterman and her husband Nachman, Olav Shalom. And when Miriam, she taught me something so profound the moment that she came to meet Tiferet, and I'll never forget it. I remember exactly where she was sitting on the couch, and so everyone always comes and says, I want to see, oh, she looks like you, she looks like him. That's already right away, right? Oh, she looks like, right? And she didn't look, she didn't even look at her. She didn't even look at her. She held her. She said, I just want to feel this right now. And she just held her before even looking at her, and she felt her. She felt Tiferet's presence. Well, she's a very developed person. She's a very very developed, those of you that know her, she's a very, consciously aware person. That's how they live. So the state of Geula in the time of Beis HaMikdash was, I wasn't asking myself, what am I supposed to do with this high moment? I was so alive that those questions didn't enter at all the area. Yeah.
This might be my Galut mentality, but to me, it feels like it's such human nature. They had it, and they didn't realize how good it was, and then we lost it. But if we go back to that, how are we going to keep it anyways? That might be Galut, but I feel like we need, in order to appreciate things that you have to feel that longing. But okay, so then you have a time of appreciation, and then you lose it again. So the next one is forever. So it can't be the same situation
No.
we're talking about now.
Right.
It has to be a conversation, because if you lose that conversation, I don't know, does that make sense?
Well, it makes sense. It makes sense. We're skipping way ahead again. We're skipping way ahead again. I will say one line. Well, I'm with this. I will say one line. That the way Rav Shlomo explained what you just said right now. He said, the Beis HaMikdash stopped breaking our hearts, and when it stopped breaking our hearts, there was no need for it anymore. Meaning, what does it mean to break your heart? Yeah. And it's at a certain point, it stopped doing that. So the only way that there was no need. It was like you could have a Beis HaMikdash or not. It didn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything. Having the Shechina in your midst didn't mean anything. So this opens the door to a lot of deeper understandings of how we prepare ourselves for the Geula Shlima V'Amitit. And but it's all heart stuff. This is all this is all heart stuff, and that's why we have to have a lot. I know it's stuff you want on shpilkos, we want to understand it and v'chulei, but let's just hang on to really, really going through this the dance of Am Yisrael, but really get into the kishkas of what they were dealing with, and also what that first generation of Galut was like right after. Right, because that's a very important one for us to understand what happened to us, and to just be aware when you look in the mirror, there's only about 1/1,000,000th of who you are that's shining in front of you on a good day. And to realize, like, when you're asking for Hashem for Geula, what you're really asking, forget about the rest of the world. You're asking for, can this godly being in this world come out more? Can it shine more? Can it be more itself in a revealed manner? And therefore the Avoda becomes so internal. It becomes such an amazing process, mind, body, soul, all these things. It becomes such a living thing inside of us. It just changes the framework of how we usually relate to the concept of Galut and Geula. And I think that we're on the road to, like, really, this is very important work, but we're on the road to, like, not just discovering, like, who we could be, but discovering, like, what we were, what we lost, what we're gaining, what we're getting back. It's tying us so deep. We want to be part of Am Yisrael. We want to be part of Netzach Yisrael. We want to feel part of this thing called Am Yisrael. This way that he's taking us on is really gonna get it to us, but we have to be vulnerable. It's gotta hurt. It's also gonna make us happy. We have to stick with the questions. We have to hang on to them and realize what was, what is, and Bezrat Hashem, what will be, with the humility of, like, I may not know what will be, but I have to get a sense of what was. Like the famous saying, I know what roads to not walk on, because I took them, like said there, like even living with the Beis Hamikdash, like you're saying. So I know the reality of living with the Beis Hamikdash, as high as this was, eventually left. So what in the world happened that state of being ceased to exist? What was that? Which also gets me so excited, because if we believe Emunah Shlema, third time's a charm, literally. That means the state of the Shechina being a live, living, my pulse will be, you can't even compare the Tkufa of Bayit Rishon to what's going to be. That gets me really, really, really excited. And makes me feel very, 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 very happy in my lot, of that this is my lot in my life. Okay, we'll continue this B'ezrat Hashem next Sunday.